borrowing from China.
Take out a credit card from the Bank of China in the name of our children, driving up our national debt that we are going to have to pay back. That's irresponsible. It's unpatriotic.
The government's irresponsible spending is turning us into slaves. You might well literally lock us into chains, at least our children.
We got to deal with this big long-term debt problem, or it will deal with us.
And it is
I'm asking you, join us to stop this fiscal train wreck. Join us to protect our children from an inferior standard of living, from a crushing burden of debt and taxes.
Okay, I don't believe in any of the tax cuts. I didn't want the tax cuts words. I didn't even want it for the middle class. Okay, because you know why? Because it puts a $400 billion hole in the budget, and we just can't afford it. And as we discuss deficit reduction, which is clearly a major issue,
for decades, we have piled deficit upon deficit, mortgaging our future and our children's future.
And the deficit thing is real, and the debt thing is real. We are really in trouble, and at some point,
Is there need for comprehensive deficit reduction? The answer is not only yes, but hell yes.
It's debt that hangs over our head, a government that spends more money than it takes in. It's not sustainable.
You cannot cut taxes or increase spending unless you pay for it.
the math of federal spending does not add up. And we are spending money we do not have. A debt burden that's crushing us.
To me, this is more of a moral issue. You can't steal from your kids and grandkids.
Deficit. We think the deficit and the national debt are at a moral level.
National debt is America's biggest problem.
Folks, you saw that. That video right there is the mainstream narrative of the world that we live in. That video right there is the biggest pile of shit you've ever seen. It is the amalgamation of the duopoly coming together in unison to sell us neoliberalism and austerity. Politics is a pile of shit. I like facts. You know what I mean? I like facts. I like truth, stuff like that. And when I watch politicians' mouths move, and when I watch people that worship politicians, and when I see people parroting what politicians say, and I see people that are incapable of putting together thoughts without their hero telling them what to think, I know our country is in dire straits. Dire straits. What you saw in that video is them telling you to buckle down and eat your peas. You saw Obama lie to you. I mean, brazenly lied to you about taking out a credit card with the People's Republic of China. And you saw Cenk Unger lying, blatantly lying about how we can't afford it. It's going to put a hole in the budget. And you saw Bernie whining about the friggin' deficit. And you saw Paul Ryan suckling at the teat of idiocy, trying to sell us austerity once again, lying that somehow or another federal debt denominated in our own currency is going to cause our children an inferior standard of living. Folks, every one of these politicians tickles your ear with the things you think because of your household budget. Because of the way you view the world, these sycophants, these political bullshit artists, tell you what they think you want to hear because you believe that our government is broke. They sell this to you over and over again. Now, I don't know if that registers with you, if you understand how bad that is, but I want to tell you, this is what it makes me feel like. That's all I think of right there. When I think of people falling for the idea that the government is somehow or another broke, That right there is my cartoon image of me as I deal with the idea that our people believe this shit. That right there is Steve Grumbine on fire, ready to friggin' smack a troll, ready to friggin' wake us up, because politics is a lie. Politics is a lie. And folks, you know, I talked to Stephanie Kelton back in September of last year when the Economists for Peace came to Washington, D.C. And when I went to interview her, it's the only time I've actually physically interviewed Stephanie Kelton, was that day. And one of the things that she told me then was basically that we, you and I, have to provide them air cover because they are trapped in an orthodoxy. They're trapped by the strictures of the trade. They are trapped in a way that they have to deal in polite society, where they will be excommunicated from the ranks of the clerics of the economic guild, if you will. And the politics, the higher up you go in the food, this food chain, are ridiculous. Even as we watch people trying to build third parties, I watch politics creep in. You think that it's money in politics that is the problem. I assure you, we are the problem. It doesn't matter how much money they pump in to telling us stuff. If we focus on truth, all that money in the world can't make us believe a lie. Now, can it fund a politician to tell you a lie like Cory Booker? People like that parasite? Yes. Do we need to stop that? Oh, hell yeah. But the fascinating thing is watching people to this day listen to politicians like they're telling you the truth. The only truth a politician is ever going to speak is the fake one that you need to hear because you can't stand your precious sensibilities to be violated. You can't stand them to tell you something that you don't want to hear. So they tell you exactly what you want to hear. The vast majority of Americans, sadly, wanted to hear that Hillary should have won the presidency. So what did they do? They came up with the Russian narrative. They came up with all manner of narratives. It was Bernie's fault. Oh, if Bernie hadn't done this, that, and the other, Hillary would have won. Folks, every step along the way, they throw something up to feed the thing that you and I want to believe. We want to believe that the United States is good. So naturally, it must be some other country's fault. Naturally, we want to believe that we're doing everything we can to change the system. So what do? They come up with a way to say, of course you're doing good. It's not your fault. It's that bad guy over there's fault. They continually tickle our ears with things that are easy for low-hanging fruit, low-hanging, low IQ, easy to consume 5-second soundbite bullshit that you are willing to suckle up to. This is no joke. Now, the flip side of this, within the left, is almost as bad as the establishment. It's almost as bad as the establishment. And let me explain. Within the left, we have come to see people so cynical, so completely disabused of any power they may have. They believe they're going to fail from Jump Street, so they need to know that the reason they're failing isn't because of anything that they're not doing. It's got to be because some conspiracy has blocked them from it. The reality is that the left peddles as many non sequiturs as the friggin' establishment does. Politicians are liars. And the more I'm around them, the more I realize that they are liars. And the more I realize, no matter how kind we are behind the scenes, when they get up there, they're lying. Their lips are moving. They are literally lying. Now, let me tell you something. There are people out there that want to believe a host of fairy tales because it feeds their need to fail. It is a get out of fail free card to believe in some of these sidelining conspiracies. And what I mean by that is simply it's impossible to fix. It forces us to ignore the fact that we have power to change these things and allows us to believe that we are powerless and we've done all we can and that there's no hope and we're all going to die. Politicians will feed that narrative because they think you want that narrative. Can you imagine if people believed, as hard as it would be, that we could actually win based on presenting the policy prescriptions and uniting and forcing them to deal in truth and not bullshit? Imagine if we believed in ourselves enough. Imagine if we believed in our own message enough. Imagine if we were confident in the truth enough that we locked arms in unison and told the politicians, you don't have to lie to us anymore. This is what we demand. Now imagine for a moment us acting a little bit differently. I see an incredible amount of negativity on the left, and it is designed to build a plausible deniability to failure. It is literally there for us to use as a get out of fail free card so that we don't take it personally when we don't achieve a progressive agenda. They sell us this negative landscape that tells us that it's all impossible. We pat ourselves on the back for going to a march. We pat ourselves on the back for yelling and screaming at 50 or so fascists somewhere. We pat ourselves on the back for sitting there marching in place and going nowhere. This is the progressive give up strategy. And it's not just progressives that buy into this shit. Conservatives do it as well. They sell them their fail card, even though we don't want them to win. They get their own fail card because they get to a certain point where they realize, oh, it must be the evil gay agenda that stopped us this time, Batman. It must be the evil climate scientists conspiring to make us believe in this fraud. All that money that George Soros pushed into it is the reason we're losing. The fail card, folks. We give ourselves so many get out of fail free cards. It is unbelievable. The left is full of cynics. It's full of people that don't believe. The only thing they believe in is failure. That's it. Isn't that a shame? Here they are. They've got the greatest policy prescriptions known to mankind. Great, wonderful policy prescriptions. Sadly founded in terrible economics. Okay? But nonetheless, the policy prescriptions that they're pushing for, fantastic. But because they sell the neoliberal lie that we can't win, we're going to lose, we got to burn it down, we have a bunch of lefties that are depressed, sitting on their hands, thinking that showing up to a march equals actually doing something. Think about what I'm saying, my friends. The thing that you've got to take from all this bullshit, the thing that's most important, don't worry about whether Bernie Sanders hoodwinked you and took you back to the establishment. That's low-hanging fruit. That's another get-out-of-fail-free card. Okay? Whining about Bernie is a get-out-of-fail-free card. Remember, the truth was not me, us. That was the truth. And remember when Bernie said, if I tell you who to vote for, don't listen to me. Do you remember that shit? I do. That's truth right there, my friends. What wasn't truth is that somehow or another, because Bernie decided to do something I don't agree with, that I have to follow him doing it. That I have to accept failure because other people can't get out of their own whining selves and go into full cynic mode and somehow or another confuse cynicism for intelligence. Cynicism is a get-out-of-fail-free card. And it's just totally baked into the mindset of the left. If you've hung out with people in the left long enough, you realize that at the end of the day, when they say they want a Green New Deal, they don't really mean they want a Green New Deal. They're ready to burn it all down because they don't think there's any hope. Now, you do the math. If you believe in climate change and environmental disasters and all the rest of the stuff, the burn it down method isn't getting us anywhere. It's not. It leads to the tar pits. It leads to death. This is the get out of fail free card yet again. It is the built-in thing that says we couldn't get a Green New Deal anyway. It was nice to put on a piece of paper, but we have no intention of actually fighting for it, because to fight for it means they got to work within the system to get the people that are in power to vote for it. Think about that for a minute. Think about what I'm saying, and you'll realize the get out of fail free card is the left's go-to move. It's like a bad basketball player that has this one juke move, and you got it. You just wait for it. You swat the ball because you know it's coming. That's what it is, folks. When you ask, what is your plan to deliver a Green New Deal mofo? Well, we got to seize the means of production, and we can't do any MMT because that'll further capitalism. So wait a minute. So what you're telling me is that you had no intention of a Green New Deal at all. Never had any intention of a Green New Deal. You were playing politics with me because your intention is to burn it down. You lied to me. You are a liar. That's what I'm hearing. Tell me if you're not hearing it, because that's what I'm hearing. This is the get out of fail free card. Politics is a lie. It is up to you and I and the entire movement to break free of the mind control of these politicians, these political parties, and you tell them what's up. That's what I'm talking about. I don't even give a flying fuck about a damn fair election at this point, because if you get a fair election, these morons are still going to play politics with you. They're still going to tickle your ear with all the cynicism and defeat and the get out of fail free cards that you have grown to know and love. Take, for example, the famous tax battle of how you're going to pay for it. We march in place, we demand we raise taxes because good, misguided people believe taxes pay for stuff. The flip side is the Republicans have already signed the Grover Norquist pledge that says they will absolutely, under no circumstances, raise a nickel of taxes to pay for shit. So you better get ready to cut expenses, right? A sovereign government cutting money. Woohoo! You see how this game's played? Get out of fail free card. They know goddamn well that the Republicans are not signing on for any tax hikes to pay for any special programs. They know it not. They know it before they even put the bill in front of anyone. They know it isn't happening. It's a lie. And you'll get used to seeing this if you open your mind and stop suckling at these politicians' teats. If you stop allowing them to define your reality. It is up to us to make demands, to educate the population, and not wait around for the next Bernie Sanders to come around and lead us all by the nose and get us all out of our seats to do what we should have been doing to begin with. I thank God that Bernie Sanders woke a bunch of people up. But I got to tell you, I don't revere any politician. Not a one. Not one. If they don't tell the truth about economics, you can guarantee I will skewer them. Skewer them. I don't care if they're friends of mine. I don't care if they're activists. I don't care if they're media personalities. I will absolutely skewer them because I want truth. I want truth. I don't want to live in a fake world with fake ideas where they tell you lies and they spin your mind up so that you believe stupid lies too. Politics sucks junk. It sucks junk in the biggest way. I mean, how many years have we been talking about healthcare in this country? Seriously. How many years have we been talking about wanting to end wars? How many years have we been talking about getting away from fossil fuels? How many years have we been talking about college education is too expensive? And how many years have we talked about unemployment, creating jobs, and fixing the frickin' country for the regular people? This is both Republicans and Democrats selling you this prosperity narrative. And we just literally choke on the shaft as we sit there and gobble this stuff up. We choke on it because we want to hear it. I don't know why. I have literally found so much freedom in breaking free of these narratives. Once you understand MMT, you don't even have to listen to their mouths flapping anymore. You know that if they're not actively finding ways to give us what we need, that they are lying. Democrat, Republican, socialist, alternative, progressive, I don't care. If you try to make me believe that your tax dollars, our tax dollars, have to go up to afford things, I know straight up that you're not only a liar, but you really hate humanity. You hate humanity. You don't want progress. You're sitting there putting in your poison pill to ensure failure. If you believe, for example, that in order to get big oil companies to support green energy, that they'd have to get their wallet fattened, if you believe that, let's set that over here for a second. The flip side is if you believe that the earth is going to be inhabitable in short bursts for a very, very short time before it becomes a real serious friggin' kill or be killed environment because of the friggin' changes coming, arid conditions, lack of water, friggin' major cataclysmic events like hurricanes, tsunamis, you name it. If you believe that, which I do, by the way, and then you tell me that the way out of that is to switch from fossil fuels to green energy as a really good start. There's a lot of other things we got to do, but let's just say that's a really good start. You have to ask yourself, do we need to seize the means of production or do we need to save the fucking planet? Hello? Hey, man. The planet's dying, dude, but I gotta seize the means of production. You feel it? Do you feel it? Do you feel it? This is the stuff, when I see that, I know that I am literally in the presence of a freaking moron. I'm in the presence of someone who literally would let us all die because of a fetish they have, because of a religious belief they have. We don't have time for that shit. If you believe the climate science, if you believe it, and I'm starting to wonder, big time, how many of these so-called parties that support environmental changes, how many of them actually believe it because they're so willing to sideline us with lies and bullshit? I see people talking about the environment and then they start talking about seizing the means of production and all this other shit. And I know right then and there, either A, they're dumb as fuck, really dumb, Or two, they have no idea how to prioritize. We live and die, and then we can go ahead and fight for means of production later, or we just go ahead and die because we fight for stupid. Right? I mean, seriously, let's call a spade, dumb as fuck, right? Seriously. It's a pretty fair statement. If you're going to sacrifice the planet because you've got a fetish over here, then yes, that's probably not a sign of friggin' Mensa society. Okay? We're not talking about like a high IQ. We're talking about one of those sub 20 IQs, right? Let's be fair. Give them maybe 21. Let's give them a big old 21, maybe 21.5 IQ with that kind of logic. We've got to solve these problems now. And we will evolve. Because that's what everything is a transition. We transition from a war economy to an education service-based economy. We transition from a capitalist society into something new and different in the future. If we continue to fight for the man and the woman who is suffering, we will always do right by them. If we continue to sit there and try to fetishize and force in a square peg in a round hole because Karl Marx, who didn't understand state theory of money, who didn't understand a state currency, who didn't understand the fact that the government can produce its own currency without it flighting out of the country because it's the monopoly issue, or he didn't understand this. When people sit there and worry about capital flight, when they don't understand a free-floating fiat currency, a free-floating fiat regime, when they don't understand that, and they sit there and they push for this bullshit about capital flight, I know that they have lost everything that mattered. They have stopped using critical thinking. The planet isn't going to hang out waiting for us to reverse engineer the money supply, reverse engineer every bit of our entire society into co-ops tomorrow morning and everything else. Think about it. We can't even get people to friggin' get off their ass and vote, much less get off their ass and lock arms for all these. We have to fight today, and it's got to be based in truth, and it can't be based on worrying about this electoral process right now. We are outside the electoral process. We must unite to save lives today. No joke. This is the most logical, most sane, most humane approach to being a lefty in this country right now. When you say you want a Green Deal, that helps, Green New Deal, that helps all of humanity. That helps our entire planet, right? When you say we're going to seize the means of production, that tells me you're putting barriers up to a Green New Deal. That tells me you don't understand what a state currency is. That tells me that you don't understand that most people, sadly, whether you like this or not, are not Marxists. Most of them want a more even society, but they don't even understand. They have Red Scare in them, and they are not going to support it. So we have to go in with things that matter. And the things that matter are saving lives today. If you don't believe that, then keep listening to these politicians as they steer you down by the nose, and they mislead millions and millions of people who listen to them instead of their own common sense. And you know what? Common sense is far from common these days. Very, very far from common. Very, very far from common. You know, I see people talking about fighting for a resource-based economy. Do you realize that MMT is largely based on a resource-based economy? Because inflation begins at the peak of real resources when we've tapped real resources. So that means that MMT in its perfect form is all about exquisite, efficient allocation of resources. these tokens that we worship, that we think we have to dig out of the ground, these gold bug bozos. They're the cause of these idiotic beliefs. These pieces of paper are merely a means of transacting. They don't have any inherent value. The value is kept via taxation. So when we think about leveraging our natural resources, our national resources, which would include you and my efforts, it would include all the minerals of the earth, it would include the air, sea, it would include the trees, it would include all the things that we have gone to, including the means of production. It would include all of our national assets. And the United States literally is the richest nation in the world, not because of its pieces of paper, but because of the natural resources that are within. When we talk about fighting for the 99% and people get sidelined by something that's not going to happen for another 200 or 300 years, you know that they have been misled and you know that they are not using their brains. And this is what politics does to us. And that, my friends, is why I despise politics. Politics is anything but truthfulness. Politics is tribalism. I like his voice better than his voice. I like his smile better than her smile. I like the way he did his hair yesterday. I like the way Bill Clinton, he's dreamy. Build a bridge to a new tomorrow. I feel your pain. All this bullshit. All this bullshit. And when I see pain and suffering, all I do is see red. Because I want to save lives. Other people would rather say, we won the election. I've got my pork pie hat on, little styrofoam pork pie hat, and I feel so good. Yay, team. That's not real. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. We got to get our team elected. Your team gets elected and they tickle your ears with bullshit. Well, he's so progressive. No, seriously, Steve, he's so progressive and stuff. For real, seriously? Did you hear him? He said stuff about Medicare, and he said fight for 15. Well, what about a living wage? Well, fight for 15 is the bumper sticker going around today. It's like so politically right and stuff. Hashtag bullshit. We need to divorce ourselves from suckling at the teat of pop culture and pop politics. We have got to get to where truth matters, and we must unite around it so that we can take to the streets, so we can take to these politicians and say, we aren't going to take it any longer and mean it, but have real solutions to present, not just a bunch of anger and a bunch of Malakovs and a bunch of crazy nonsense, but facts, real, honest facts that we stand on in unity, and we raise our fist in triumphant confidence that we have the answers to what ails society, and we fight like everything depends on it, because it does. Folks, I am Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives, and I am fired up as usual. But tonight, I'm begging you, stop listening to these politicians, even the ones you like. Because I can tell you, when I try and talk economics to these people, they're like, yeah, Steve, I got to run off to do this other thing. Oh, hey, Steve, yeah. I'll be at your session. Not one of them showed. Not a one of them. The room was full of regular people, but not one of them showed. They were too busy hanging out at other things because they had it going on. They know damn well that they're going to keep hyping the bullshit about our hard-earned tax dollars. They're going to keep hyping the bullshit about how taxes pay for stuff and how we got to get money from the rich to pay for it, because after all, taxes pay for stuff. They're going to keep that lie up, and they are not letting go, because most of you still believe it. And they have no incentive to change. It requires us making that demand. That's it. Without it, you can kiss it goodbye, folks. Have a good night, everybody.